flowing as we go in tonight. It is a big night. It's Monday Night Football. It's NFC supremacy tonight. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers. I'm Donnie Rightside. He's Tom Vecchio along with Mike Carver. We got some time to get the people going tonight. And Tom, I'll start with you first. We got a good game. And by the way, the FanDuel Sportsbook now has the Philadelphia Eagles as the favorite.
Not too much of a surprise to see that change.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a small change considering where the numbers were, but I want to say that we're in for an awesome game. I really want, especially coming off of last night, that atrocity of a game that we saw. I really want to believe that we're in for a great game. I want both teams in the 20s. That keeps the props alive. I lean with the Eagles, as I spoke to you this morning, but you give me a 27-24 final, I think that's right on. I think we see some points.
Yeah, I'm excited for this game tonight. It's cold weather temperatures in Green Bay, but this is typical Green Bay weather. It's not a snowstorm that's going to hit tonight. You're not having precipitation that's going to be crazy. You're not having crazy winds at this point. Just a good mid-November cold game in Green Bay, Mike, and we'll start with you here on this one. Point spread. 1.5 Eagles at FanDuel, 1.5 typically for Green Bay across the board. We'll see where that goes. Heavy ticket count toward the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles off of a bye week. Packers with a terrible loss last week, lost their best tight end weapon. It's going to be an interesting. It's putting my brain in a pretzel at this point.
It's actually, and boys, it's good to be back with you. I got to tell you, I've missed you the last few times. I've had some things going on. Can I petition the graphics department that we change that opening graphic to that one you tweeted out with the four of us with the cartoon and the orange jacket?
Yeah,
I want to petition. I know I haven't made that many recently. I've made more than Joe. Recently, but I know I've made more than Joe recently, so I'm going to petition the graphics department that. All right, DRS, you're talking about the spread. This is not hard for me. I love the Eagles tonight. Love the Eagles tonight. Love them. Guys, I think that this is a huge game for them in this aspect. The board is starting to be clear for them.
Yeah.
The Rams and the Seahawks and the Niners are going to beat each other up in the West. You got the Lions, Packers, Bears, everyone in the North. I don't think Tampa's as good as them. They've already beaten them too. They have got the clear path to the 1 seed, and winning this game tonight is part of that. Eagles tonight, baby. Let's go, DRS.
And again, looking at the game optimistically, because I am an Eagles fan, I do get scared where I think the Eagles should be favored, but the usually is let's just say the line opened up at 2.5 for Green Bay, which it did.
Right.
You said, oh, that heavy ticket count. Well, now the Eagles are a favorite. That is a stone cold Eagles line now, where even the public and I guess the sharp money is coming in late on the Eagles. Otherwise, we've seen this, Mike, before. Hey, 80% of tickets on the Eagles. Lines at 2.5. Hasn't moved all week. Now it is moving at this point. So, Tom, I'll start with you first on this. The attack points in this game. When I look at, if you just measure it up, it's hard to beat good football teams on the road. I get that. For me, the Eagles, better offensive line. Quarterback, better for the Eagles. Wide receivers, better for the Eagles. Running back, better for the Eagles. Defense overall does go to the Packers, but I don't think it's that tilt-a-wheel where you can't move the football. So am I wrong for looking at saying the Eagles have advantages all over the place tonight?
To say all over the place wouldn't be a stretch, but I would say the only thing I would push back on and say is that the advantages aren't that much. Saquon, I think we agree is better than Josh Jacobs, but it's not like some massive chasm between him and Jacobs. He's better, but it's not by much. You could say that, it's not like we're dealing with some backup quarterback. People aren't sold on Love, but Love's not some replacement level quarterback. He is capable enough to go out there and throw 250 and 2 TDs. So the advantages may lean with the Eagles, but it's not some massive disparity is the way I would phrase it.
Yeah, it's the way it plays out will be interesting because they're both good defense. And I know you led off with the total. I've been saying and again, I didn't bet a side or a total in this game as, oh my goodness, I went rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles. I do think the Eagles are right, but we've been around the block long enough to say hey, Green Bay wins this game. Well, come on, man. Everybody thought the Eagles were going to win. The total I do think stays a little bit lower, but it's hard for me, Mike. I'll ask you this question on this. When I watch the Philadelphia Eagles, it almost doesn't matter what defense they go up. You can almost pencil them in for 24-plus points. I'm having a hard because they're rested, they're ready, they're off of a bye. Green Bay's defense, yes, is sensational, but it's very rare that it's hey, man, the Eagles scored 11 points tonight. That's a rarity.
I think that the Eagles are always good for 20.
Yeah.
At minimum 20, you got the Eagles in it. And I actually think tonight that they're good for even a little bit more than that. I really do. And I'm not as high on this Packer team or defense, maybe as other people are. Sometimes that comes back to burn me. And then other times it looks like it did last week when they lost to Carolina, although the defense obviously played well in that game. I'm not the biggest believer. I think the Eagles are good for DRS 27 tonight. I think that's about where I'm at with the Eagles. And I think it's enough to get us through this over too, because I think it's like a 27-20 game right in that area.
Yeah, yeah. And Tom, I know we were talking this morning on the show, and I do like an angle because we look at the side and the total here. I'm rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the game does stay under, but again, I'm having a hard time handicapping this game overall because it's two really good football teams in a playoff atmosphere. Sometimes it is a little bit slow, but then I'm like, of course this game's 14-7 at the end of the first quarter. Like there's that notion that I have in it. But if we are playing the quarterback props today, Tom, you came up with, and I think it's right. Sometimes you look at a game and say, NFL teams want to pass the football. Yes, they might end up with 35, 40 rushing attempts if they're in hand and it's in the fourth quarter. But when you look at Green Bay, like their pathway to victory to me is not lining up and handing the football 18 times to the running back. Now, it might get that way if they're having success, but your pathway is saying, I don't know how much success the quarterback is going to have for Love, but I know he's throwing the football, right?
Right. So there's a couple things pulling in opposite directions, or different directions, I should say. Yeah. Obviously, we know that Tucker Kraft is out tonight. He's out for the season for the Packers. Matthew Golden, their rookie receiver, is out. But if you look to Green Bay, this is where I'll start. Green Bay defensively, when it comes to defensive rush success rate over the last 4 weeks, they've dropped to 28th in the league. So if we see Saquon, who finally started to break off some big runs in recent games, if the Eagles have success on the ground, it's going to force the Packers into a passing game script. And yes, they are factually less healthy than they've ever been when it comes to their receivers. It's going to be Romeo Doubs, it's going to be Christian Watson, it's going to be Luke Musgrave, Octavian Wicks, et cetera, et cetera. But Love is going to have to pass the ball. And we have seen the Packers pass play percentage increase by 5%, which isn't a dramatic increase, up to 58% over the last 3 weeks. So I think he will be passing the ball, but it's gonna be in an effort to be like, hey, let's be efficient. Let's pick a first downs. We don't have to be crazy with this. We know we're at full health. We're not at full health, I should say, and we're going up against a tough defense. Let's just be efficient with it while we can, and let's do that.
Mike, you look at these numbers on the quarterbacks, and they've been rising on Jalen Hurts. He was in the low 190s, about 198.5. We'll get to his rushing props and the touchdowns in a moment here. But are you playing a quarterback or like a quarterback any more than the other? Love's at 233.5, Hurts 198.5. Both of these guys plus money to throw 2 touchdowns tonight.
Yeah, I think other than the touchdowns, Donnie, I don't think that I would get involved anywhere else. I like Hurts over 1.5 at plus. I think it's about plus 140, right? Plus 140 is where it's at.
Yep.
I like that. I don't really like to get involved with the yardage for them. And there's a bunch of things that I have working with Hurts in the run game tonight that we're going to get to. But for as far as passing, other than the over 1.5 touchdowns for Hurts, not really there for it. I do think there'll be points in the game, so I'm sure we can get him maybe over that yardage total as well. But I'm not going to risk it because DRS, how this Eagle offense can work sometimes. There could be a lot of running. There could be a lot of points, but maybe sometimes not a lot of pass yards that gets put into all that.
Yeah, the $185, 3 touchdown passing game. You're like, what the hell did I do? I'm telling you, like, I do bet some props where it's over quarterback, to go with, let's just say 205, 210. And it's such an oddity because usually it's touchdown pass. Like, God damn it, they just pinned us inside the 2-yard line. And when you have that prop, like, awesome, 98 yards, you might be able to get passing on this drive here. It's so funny how you change the prop idea from throwing a touchdown to, oh, no, the guy returned it back to the 50-yard line. I would like if it was a touchback and they're at the 20-yard line. It's kind of funny how that plays out here. But if we are looking now at the rushing props in this game, Saquon Barkley, 76.5. Josh Jacobs was higher in that range of 69. He's now down to 66.5 here, listed at FanDuel. Jalen Hurts, 31.5. That number was 27.5, Tom, when we were talking this morning. That's now bumped up to 31.5. Emmanuel Wilson's in there, Love. And I got to tell you, Tank Bigsby just flashed up on one of my props that I have tonight. Just, again, small money, having some fun with. I took Bigsby over 7.5 rushing yards. He's now up to 8.5. So, Tom, I'll start with you first. The running back props tonight, where are we looking?
Yeah, I certainly don't mind Tank Bigsby. I actually, like, less than half an hour ago, he was 9.5. I saw him down at 7.5. Now he's up to 8.5. I don't mind it. And I know people are going to be looking at the 100-yard game that he had against the Giants. Obviously, that's highly circumstantial. And I wouldn't be looking at that as like a concrete thing of like, this is what he's going to be doing going forward. But, again, Saquon to me, or really Jacobs, but always in the combined market, I think is the best way to go about it, because I think both running backs are game script proof. If they're up, they're going to get the ball. They'll be involved in the passing game a little bit. If they're down, I don't love Saquon at 98.5. I never want to bet into that, but I do think that is the best route to go about it rather than just rushing.
Modern says he's on the Eagles pick, minus 105. Hurts for 2 touchdowns for Chops BX. And, of course, Sammy, I don't know Lisi. We don't know. Lisi's probably eating meatballs somewhere. And Shy Picks there. Give me the under as a fade and give me the boring Eagles. Oh, stop the madness out there. Stop being a hater here. So we look at you, Mike, at the running back props tonight.
Yeah.
Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Jalen Hurts. And I got to tell you, the last game they played, was it the Giants game? I think it was.
Yeah, the Giants before the bye.
I had one of those games which I lost, which I had 20 yards rushing for Jalen Hurts at the break, and he needed like 27 and a half and didn't get it. I found myself finding he's not running as much as he used to, but you have a really good pass rush tonight. Healthy as you're ever going to be coming off a bye. Would you play Jalen Hurts as rushing prop over under, or also a running back that you like tonight, Mike?
Well, let me throw this to you guys because me and my guy Doug Kazarian, who do the BR show with now every day, he brought this to me today on our show, and I thought about it. It's very true. Do you think that the Eagles and Sirianni are going to be thinking about? Remember, the Packers were the team that was most opposed to the tush push. Do you think they're going to try to do it? Now, listen, you really only do it when it's 2 yards or less or 3 yards. You know, they're on the goal line. So it is like a certain yardage you have to do it. But do you think that Sirianni, it might employ it more tonight because he wants to stick it to the Packers being the team that was going after him with the tush push? So do we look at Hurts rushing attempts at 8.5? Because not only do you have the design runs or the scrambles, you could have some extra Sirianni motivation for tush pushes tonight.
Here's what I would say to that. I don't disagree with that, and I think that's a very viable way to play that. However, my mind always goes to, like, what's the best bet in a certain circumstance? You could certainly play him over 8.5, but if you are betting on over 8.5, like, the highest outcome on, like, the distribution of the bell curve is Hurts for 2+ TDs. So, and I know it's obviously, we're not talking about like a -112 bet versus something that's +650. Those are dramatically different, implied probabilities of outcomes. I understand that. But my mind is like, if they do that multiple times, that's like, he's probably getting at least one touchdown, and I'd rather have the 650 in pocket.
Yeah, we're going to talk about his touchdown props in just a second, but it's such a valid, because I don't think the Eagles will make a mockery of it, where some people say, hey, you should line up on 1st and 10 to start the game and run a tush push. They're not going to do that. Like, you know what I mean?
I don't think they're going to do that.
Hey, 1 or 2 yards is not optimum on first downs. You sort of say, let's stay ahead of the chains. But I do think there's something where he might get an extra tush push in there, because even when you're looking at short yardage, maybe it's 3rd and 1.5. All right, we hand up to Saquon Barkley. You know what? If it gets you one extra, which Jalen Hurts was 7.5 this morning, he's now 8.5. So a lot of people buying into that notion. But understand this too. Like, Nick Sirianni and the Philadelphia Eagles are very vindictive in some scenarios.
That's the thing. This is the one guy who will care about sticking it to somebody. He's one of the guys who would do it.
Which I think Tom is right at this point. Like, if it's one where they say, you know what? And you're not going to do this if you're down 3 points. You're not going to do it if it's a 6-point game in the fourth quarter. But understand this. The Eagles get inside the 5-yard line. Let's say they get to the 4-yard line. 4 minutes to go in that game. I swear, Mike, they might tush push 4 straight times to make it not make a mockery of the game. Like, oh wait, why are you doing it to kick off to prove a point? But just to say, we're going to run you over. We're going to pose our physicality. It might take us 4 times to get in all 4 downs, but we will score a touchdown and show you. Oh, so you wanted to stop and take it out? I do agree with that. Where the extenuating circumstance, you might roll into an extra 3 rushes for Jalen Hurts.
I like it. I'm going to play it tonight. The 8.5.
I think it makes sense. Hank Bigsby for me, baby. Let's go. Let's get after it. Receiving props tonight. A.J. Brown, 56.5. Devontae Smith, 55.5. Romeo Doubs, 53.5. Christian Watson, 43.5. Let me start with you, Tom. Again, I'm having a hard time getting a feel, because this game could turn out. Jalen Hurts is 22 of 26, 255 yards. A.J. Brown, 8. Devontae Adams, 8. Dallas Goedert, 8. But I'm having a problem picking out the guy that is supposed to eat tonight. We'll get to the Packers in a second. Who do you have for the Eagles that you would lean to and say, this guy is going to get run tonight?
I think for me, that's Smith. He's been having a great year. I think the spot is good for him. And again, there's always a reason to back A.J. Brown in terms of them like trying to get him the ball. But I think schematically, I think Smith makes a lot of sense tonight. I really do like him. You can play his yards totally fine. I like him over 21.5 for his longest reception. I think that makes a lot of sense. We've seen the Packers allow at least a 20-yard reception in 6 of their 8 games. I understand 20 yards is not over 21.5, but at least they're susceptible to that. Smith has that great downfield presence, 34% air yard share, 11.1 ADOT. Really do like Smith in this spot. That's my favorite receiving prop. Can I talk myself into A.J. Brown? Can I talk myself into Luke Musgrave over 26.5? Yes.
Yeah, when I look at A.J., again, somebody's got to catch passes tonight. And even say, "Whoa, that's not that much." Like the correlation is let's just say Jalen Hurts is 200 passing yards. Like the Eagles don't throw to third wide receivers. They throw to their tight end and the two wide receivers. So 56.5 and 55. And even though Green Bay has such a good defense, they're really low numbers. Mike, how do you play this from an Eagles side tonight with receivers?
I'm with Tom 100%. I love Devonta Smith tonight.
Yeah.
I think that he has become the guy. Now, look, they just had a bye week. Is it possible that they're making an emphasis during the bye to get A.J. Brown more involved? I'm sure it's possible. They didn't trade him. They had all that nonsense. There could be some A.J. Brown focus tonight. But I think Smith has been consistent. Both games against the Eagles last year, he was able to get over this number. He's the guy as far as I'm concerned in the passing game. And honestly, guys, I'm going to get to this with the touchdowns. Like,
yeah.
I don't understand how the Goddard numbers are where they are. Like even tonight in the 30s, right? 35.5 for Goddard. Like Goddard is a huge part of this offense. It's just he's been eaten every single week.
Yeah.
I got to go to him too.
Yeah, it's interesting. Let's get over to the Green Bay Packers side of things, right? Golden is down tonight, so Dobbs, Christian Watson, Luke Musgrave seem to be getting the high numbers here. Somebody, again, has to catch passes. And if you're looking at Jordan Love around 230, let's call it as a passing prop, 53.5 isn't a lot, 43.5 for Christian Watson isn't a lot. Luke Musgrave steps in, which you might get one of those, they're not throwing to the guy, or, he just steps into that spot for Kraft and he gets 5 to 6 targets just because they want to throw to tight ends. Tom, I'll start with you first again. From the Green Bay perspective, I don't love it, but if I had to choose, it's probably Romeo Dobbs for me at the 53.5, just eating at the top of the chain, saying I think he's going to get the market share of targets.
I think the more I talked myself into it, throughout the day, before all the injuries, Romeo Dobbs leads the team with a 22% target share. He was second on the team with a red zone target share of 25%, and he led the team with a 25% end zone target share. So when it's all said and done, we're getting a number one wide receiver still at 50 when the target tree distribution for Green Bay has now shrunk. And, they're obviously going to have other receivers out there, and Luke Musgrave backup tight end, but he didn't get hurt. And yet his number is still the same in the 50s. So if there's any time to buy low, if they really force feed him the ball because Christian Watson isn't consistent enough, Dontavian Wicks isn't consistent enough, Luke Musgrave isn't consistent enough, Romeo Dobbs' number next week is going to be 71. So I'd rather buy low on Dobbs now, knowing that he's their go-to guy.
You know what I wish here at this point, too, is you can jump in and be okay, who do I know that's going to line up on Keely Ringo and or Adoree Jackson in the game, as opposed to who's going to get Quinyon Mitchell, because they are going to target hunt opposite of having Cooper DeJean in the slot and Quinyon Mitchell. Somebody's going to have a big night if they just game plan. Again, Matt LaFleur's not stupid. Hey, let me just run my best wide receiver on Quinyon's side the entire night. They're going to look to get those guys open like an NBA game. Hey, pick and roll at this point. Yeah, because we want to get your worst defender on our best offensive threat. So I do think there is some success tonight for Green Bay in the air. I think that's the way to attack the Eagles. Now, let's get to the touchdown scoring prop market tonight. I'm just looking at FanDuel right now. Jacobs is minus 145. Jalen Hurts is minus 110 now. He's been hit all day long, and rightfully so. Saquon plus 105, Dobbs plus 175, Brown plus 185. Tom knows I would think it's hilarious where I take, A.J. Brown and or Devontae Smith, one of those guys gets a touchdown, take the plus money. But I got to tell you, I love Jalen Hurts tonight. It's a very square play, but everything you build into the marketplace tonight that says the Eagles will be in the red zone, the Eagles will have a first and goal at the 3-yard line, no way, shape, or form that the Eagles will be okay, let's just change up and think it's funny where we hand it off to Saquon at the 1. That's not happening. Barrel rolls into the end zone here, and I'll start with you first, Mike. Jalen Hurts, I got him at a plus 115 early in the day with BetMGM. Those numbers are gone. He's right around plus 100, minus 105, minus 110, depending where he's shopping. How are we treating the touchdown market?
Yeah, I think you got to have Hurts in there, and I know I've seen all day today. He's only scored once in their last 5 games, blah, 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 blah. Sure, he'll score tonight. I really feel good about Hurts. I think he's a nice first touchdown splash as well tonight. But, guys, it's Goddard. I mean, this guy has 7 touchdowns. He's 3rd in the NFL. He's 1st among tight ends, and they're still booking him in the 200s.
Yeah.
Honestly, Dallas Goedert should be 180, 170 every week now, and you're still getting 220, 230 for this guy to score. I'm sorry, Dine. The price is too good for me in that aspect.
Yeah.
So I got to have Goddard on the card again tonight.
I like it. By the way, A.J. Brown plus 185, Devonta Smith plus 230. You are getting crazy now. I understand there's really good defenses, but some of these numbers for the wide receivers, we're not going to have any touchdown passes, is kind of wild, Tom.
Yeah, I have Hurts as well at plus 110 from earlier in the day. I actually put that in right after I spoke to you this morning. So when you look at the Eagles this season defensively, they've allowed a single touchdown to opposing tight ends. If you look at Green Bay this season, Tucker Kraft has a 33% red zone target share.
Yeah.
When they get to the red zone, they targeted Tucker Kraft. He's obviously done for the season. So I took a shot on Luke Musgrave at plus 330.
Yeah.
The matchup is factually bad for him because the Eagles are so good against tight ends. They've only allowed one touchdown. But I also want to buy into, again, like what the offense play calling tendencies happen when they get to the red zone and into the end zone. And it's targeting Tucker Kraft. If we get a good game from Luke Musgrave, these numbers we'll never see from him for the rest of the season. Like this is the ultimate buy low spot for Luke Musgrave if you buy into this stuff. His number will never be 26.5 again. We're never going to get plus 320 or plus 330. And even if it drops to plus 200, that is a dramatic difference week in and week out.
Yeah, yep, it is. I mean, there's a lot of the spray the board type players tonight because even though it's 45, it's not 55. To have like Josh Jacobs, yes, he's getting the ball on the goal line. Jalen Hurts, he's getting the ball on the goal line. Those do make sense, and they're the top dogs on the goal line here. Saquon Barkley is always such an interesting one because he does score touchdowns, but it's just like when Derrick Henry gets to the 1 yard line, whether he scores or not, he's getting the football. Okay, 4th and 1 gets stopped, or at least he got a chance. Like for having okay, Saquon's got to score outside the 5 yard line or he never gets in is always funny to me. Like I can't imagine Saquon Barkley's props if there was no tush push, what it would be minus 300 like he's Jonathan Taylor every game. It's just not what the Eagles do at that point here. Now Maddie's in the chat box here. It says Josh Jacobs 5+ rushes for quarter plus 105. Unless it's a blowout scenario, Green Bay is going to be handing him the football a lot. I feed off that. You know what I took again tonight is one of those prop bets on FanDuel? Barkley and Jacobs. And somebody's always going to burn you. Each one of them, 5 yards in each quarter. It's a plus 280. Like it's not a minus 105, minus 110. It's almost 3-1, where if I say to myself, I can guarantee each one of those running backs will get 2 carries per quarter. And of course, it probably should be more than that, of course. But if I get 2, there's no reason to believe I can't get 5 yards a quarter here.
I like it.
I like it. And you know what, Donnie? I'll get in on it with you. Let's go. Somebody will probably burn us.
We're riding.
The Josh Jacobs one makes a lot of sense. I'll say that.
I didn't mention this with Jacobs, with the receiving or anything. I like Jacobs for 4+ receptions tonight. You were talking about who's going to fill in the space with Tucker Kraft. I understand Musgrave. I think it could actually be, especially in a game that I'm seeing where maybe the Eagles are going to be up in the 4th quarter. Yeah. I think that it's the passing game out of the backfield with Jacobs. So 4 receptions for him. I think it's plus 130 or something in that area.
That's Alisi right there. Alt the running. Get him up there, ready to rock and roll. Other fun prop bets that I've listed tonight too. Of course, that the Barkley and Jacobs. The 1-1 I do think makes some sense, which means that each team will throw 1 passing touchdown and 1 rushing touchdown. It's plus 165 tonight. Be hard pressed to think that one of these teams aren't going to throw a touchdown pass and everything's going to get run in. But also, you know what I took, Tom, tonight? And this was on DraftKings, which I didn't know they had this market. Both teams to score a rushing touchdown at minus 120 tonight. And the reason I want to ask you this question, each team to throw a passing touchdown, it's minus 250. Each team to just have a rushing touchdown, minus 120. Now, I do think they both throw a touchdown pass, but I don't want to risk the 250. But when I wake up tomorrow morning, and of course I'm going to stay up all night. It's the Eagles game. I would be surprised if each team doesn't run one in tonight.
I would too. Yeah. For only minus 120 seems like a decent
bet.
Seems
light. That seems light.
It does seem, and you said it's minus 250 for each one passing.
Correct. Yes.
I would think they would be reversed.
Yeah. Who's got that, Donnie? Who's got the money?
DraftKings.
Who's got that?
Yeah, which I was surfing because I always love these team markets. I ask Tom these questions all the time where it's like, okay, take everybody out of the equation. The thing I love about the two, it's like, well, Donnie, why don't you just take, AJ to score a touchdown, or Jalen Hurts to take score a touchdown and or Jacobs. This gives you every single personal feel. Like a special teamer can run one in on a fake punt, and it counts as a rushing touchdown. I think it's a fun prop bet there. It's only minus 120. Boom, you get one in the first half. You're just cheering for the second half for the other team to rush one in if they can.
I like it. I will say, just looking at some of these game specials, 1 TD to be scored in each quarter at plus 155. That number really should be in the 170s or 180s. I don't mind the bet. I don't like the odds. Let's put it like that.
Game specials tonight. What else we got here? Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts each record 30 yards passing in each quarter. Well, that's a tough one. Plus 750 price back on that point here. Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley, Tom, I've asked you about these before. Like taking that macro look as opposed to micro look each quarters. Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley, 25 rushing yards each, half.
I would do half before quarter.
Yeah.
You give again, like the odds are the odds are whatever, a little bit different
What I got
overall.
beat on the last one time was a passing prop I had where each guy had to get like 5 yards receiving, and it was in flames in the first quarter. I got one target. It was
Was it CeeDee
Arizona.
Lamb? Was it CeeDee Lamb?
It was CeeDee Lamb. It was yeah, exactly. It was CeeDee Lamb on one side, and it was
McBride.
McBride on the other side. McBride had the target, didn't have it. I didn't follow it the second, third, and fourth quarter, but it's always like if I can get through the first quarter, they just feel so good at that point here. And
Yeah, I would take the yards. I would take the yards and the half. That's where I would lean initially.
plus 280, so it's almost identical to some of the other prop bets in here. So look at the 1-and-1's at plus 170 now, so that moved up from plus 165 earlier. Field goal in each quarter. I can't stand field goal props anymore in the NFL. Like, you want to go back 15 years, field goal props were awesome because 4th and 1 at the 16 was a field goal. Like 4th and 3 at the 16, they're going for it every time. I would never take field goal props anymore.
Done with field goals.
The one thing I talked about with Brady last night when we were doing the Chargers-Steelers game, which was absolutely terrible.
Oh my
DK
God.
offers a total punt market, which I may actually have to start betting in some games. It's not this one, but man, the fact that a line is setting at 7.5 total punts between the two teams. Like last night, you would have been cruising with that, like just an absolutely disgusting game. So there are different ways to get around some of these, markets, and you got to obviously shop book by book. But man, there's a lot out there.
Yeah, looking at some of these team specials. Yesterday, one of my losses was I had the Chicago Bears over 29.5 rushing attempts yesterday. If the Bears weren't down 10 points, they would have hit that usually. But it was one time where I sit back and I say to myself, it was 29.5. The yardage number was like I would say 27.5. I go to put the bet in at Bet365, and it went up 4 yards. Like I must have had it not logged in, waited like 20 minutes, and it wasn't up. I said, you know what? I'm not going to do that. And of course, they ran for way over 129.5 yards, 134.5, whatever it was. And they end up with, I think, 28 rushing attempts. That really pissed me off, like outsmarting myself. But tonight, rushing yards, 131.5 for the Eagles as a team, 114.5 for the Green Bay Packers as a team. Any takers between both of you out there? I'll know.
No taker for me.
Yeah. No take.
I want throws.
I think the lines are super accurate, which is part of the problem. Like I think they're spot on. I don't think there's much of a wiggle room for you to cash.
Look, the Eagles ran for 276 in the last game against the Giants, but it seems like everybody rushes for that amount. But like when you see like the 131 and go, hell yeah, the Eagles will do that. And then you go, okay, wait, Hurts probably has to get 35. Saquon's going to have to get 80, and then somebody else. It's almost like, 131's easy until you break down the numbers. Like, well, why don't you just take Saquon? Like, how are they getting 131 if Saquon doesn't run for 75 yards in this game, right? So that's how you have to break it down sometimes. The only reason I did it with the Bears is I was like, am I going to get serious with Monungai, or is it going to be Swift? Let me just go with both of them there. Because again, Swift just resumes as the top lead dog, which is crazy, but that's the way it plays out sometimes. What else we got here tonight? Odds, evens. You know what I started getting into too? Team touchdown props as well. It doesn't matter who scores. I had one yesterday, which was the parlay. It was minus 118. It was hit real easy. It was the Rams over 2.5 touchdowns for the game, and then it was the Detroit Lions, which they put in like their first 3 possessions. Which I was like, why don't I just take the team totals or amp it up and like dial in for 4+ touchdowns tonight? If you were looking at some of those, 2.5 for the Eagles, which means 3 touchdowns for the Birds tonight. That is plus 100. And then if you take a look at the Green Bay Packers, it's obviously a little bit more than that. Any takers? Because I've asked Tom this, Mike, before. The market that I actually think I like this market a little bit more, because a lot of times it's like, okay, let's put it into effect the Baltimore Ravens, right? Let's just say they are 31.5, but the team total is 31.5, but over 3.5 touchdowns is basically like the same price. And I say to myself, like, they're not going to score 3 touchdowns and kick 4 field goals in the game. If I do and lose that, so be it. Like, I'm starting to find myself liking these touchdown markets more than the actual team totals themselves.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the way to go. I mean, because you get and you also get screwed now. There's so many coaches on the sideline with their charts and graphs, and they're going for 2 here, and they're well, we're down 26 points. Let's start going. They all start getting. And sometimes the math kills you, and sometimes it helps you.
Yeah, the 2-point guy, exactly. Like you scored a touchdown. Like, hey, go for 2 whenever you want, coach. Other times, like, wait a second, you kicked the extra point, I win this. Oh, they're going for 2 and didn't get it.
Like, look, Arizona was getting smashed yesterday, right, by Seattle. But if you had, let's just say, Donnie, and I don't know exactly what Arizona's team total was in that game yesterday, but I mean, they're down 38 points, and your boy, he's sending them out. We're going for 2. We're going to made it 15. They made it this. These guys start getting involved with their head. The wheels start spinning up there. and they're doing all sorts of crazy stuff with the points.
All right, let's wrap this up. Let's go around the horn one last time on bets that we like. For me, again, rooting for the Eagles. I do think the game stays under, but just to be clear for everybody, I don't even have a wager, any money on those two bets.
Wow.
But I do have some light funds tonight. Philadelphia Eagles touchdown market for Jalen Hurts plus 115 price. I did take Tank Bigsby as a fun bet there. I love the secondary options over 7.5 yards. Also took the 1-1 tonight, 1 touchdown pass, 1 rushing touchdown for each team tonight, plus 165. And then also Barkley and Jacobs, 5+ rushing yards each quarter, plus 280. And then I did take, which I love, both teams to score rushing touchdown on DraftKings, minus 120 price. Tom, what do you got tonight?
I like the Luke Musgrave for a touchdown at plus 320. I like Jordan Love over 31.5 pass attempts. Smith over 21.5 for his longest reception. I think all those. And I am on the Eagles.
Carver, formerly of Carver and Lisi, as they say. What do you got?
Yes, formerly at this point. On the Eagles tonight, DRS, I think they take care of business. I love Devonta Smith, 55.5. We can hold it to 60, 70, however high you want to go. Goddard gets into the end zone tonight. Jalen Hurts over 8.5 rushing attempts. And yes, Josh Jacobs, 4+ receptions tonight. I really like that.
There we go.
Beautiful stuff tonight, people. Get a round of applause. Everybody had some fun. Donnie Rightside, Tom Vecchio, and Mike Carver. We'll do it again sometime soon, but it's time for Philadelphia Eagles football. And if you're rooting against my Eagles, damn you at this point. We'll catch you later.